Welcome to Did You Know the Heart of It, a short podcast from Gloria Deo Academy. In each episode, we unpack the heart behind our school's practices and philosophies so we can grow together in our shared mission to raise lifelong worshipers, lifelong learners, and lifelong servants. Whether you're driving, folding laundry, or catching a quiet moment, we're glad you're here. In this episode, we're discussing discipline and discipleship in the Little Schoolhouse with Mrs. Amie. Hi, Miss Amie. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Hi, Robin. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's jump right in and talk about how discipline is addressed in the Little Schoolhouse with our younger students. Will you tell us a little bit about the processes used?
Sure. So I'd like to say first, I think there is a meaningful distinction between discipline and discipleship, although the two are really closely connected. And I think when we understand both discipline and discipleship, it helps teachers and parents to support not only our behavior management in the classroom and at home, but also the deeper work of character formation and spiritual growth.
Okay, tell me a little more about that.
Sure. So discipline in the classroom looks like clear expectations, structure and routine, consistent consequences, and self-control and order. It isn't something that happens after the fact, and it doesn't equate to punishment.
I like that you made that distinction, that discipline is not equal to a punishment that happens after the fact.
Correct. It's the formation from the beginning in a classroom. And then discipleship is really relational and formative. It means guiding students not just in what they do, but who they are becoming. So, for example, we model virtue and faith in our daily life. We teach students to love what is true, good, and beautiful. We nurture a desire for wisdom and moral growth, and we point their hearts toward Christ. So I think it's important to know that in terms of discipline and discipleship, when a student is sent to my office for, let's say, an infraction of a rule or a misbehavior, a disruption, the student has already had two opportunities in the classroom to follow and correct their behavior. So my role as dean is to help restore the student to a right relationship with his environment, whether that's with the teacher or their classmates or other students, and to remind them who they are in Christ. So my goal is to focus on restorative discipline, which respects their dignity, and we aim to correct without shame and build up rather than tear down. And punitive discipline looks like that. It looks like punishment and timeout and degrading or embarrassing. So my time with the student becomes a discipleship moment of the heart, and then I'm able to send them back to class with a path toward fellowship with others.
There's so much in that you said, like, for example, they've already had an opportunity to correct behavior 2 times in the classroom before they even come to talk to you.
Right. And I think that's really important even for parents to be aware of that. So we do have a school-wide discipline procedure that teachers follow, whether that be the name on the board or a check by their name or a verbal correction, a warning. So when a student comes to me, I'm not their first line of defense. I have talked with and spoken to the teacher. The teacher has sent them to me for further discipleship. We have time to do that on a one-on-one basis that the teacher doesn't have the opportunity to do in the classroom.
Right.
And so they have
got the other students.
Exactly. Yeah.
Classes still continuing on.
That's right.
You talked about restorative discipline rather than punishment and timeout. Even as a parent, I've had to change my own mindset and moving away from timeout to rather instead, we might need a calm down spot before we can have a conversation, or we might need to sit in a thinking chair. And to help us, it reframes my mind as a mom to that, no, what I'm really aiming at is not to discipline, not to punish the child, but rather to correct that behavior coming out of their heart.
Right.
Issues are happening.
And I think really the way to see that, if, we often equate discipline to timeout, it is a timeout away from the classroom. That's it in terms of timeout. Mm-hmm. But that time spent in my office becomes really sweet discipleship moments.
Well, why do we use this method of discipline with our teachers and students at GDA?
Well, the method of disciplining through discipleship really addresses the student's heart condition. It's our goal at GDA to move beyond just correcting their behavior. We really want to help them to restore relationships, to reconcile their heart, to shepherd the students to be more Christ-like. And so this approach, by disciplining through discipleship or with discipleship, it reflects God's redemptive work, and it offers a chance to both nurture virtue and faith in our students. So it's really not just about correcting wrong behavior, but it's about healing relationships and helping our students grow in character. We want our students to see the heart behind their actions and to build character, not just to teach them to be compliant to rules. So we want that experience to be really transformative. And by doing that, small moments that happen in the classroom can become big opportunities. We aren't punishing, we aren't scolding, we aren't reprimanding, we're really guiding and shaping virtue. So we're not just raising students, we're raising souls.
And this is really a beautiful example of what it looks like to model the gospel and to demonstrate that we have a loving Father, a loving God who does not seek to punish us, but really wants restoration with us.
Absolutely.
Next question is, how can parents partner well with the teachers in discipling their students related to these types of school situations when a student does need to come visit you in the office?
Yeah, well, I think here at our school at GDA, parents and teachers work really well together to just build a united team to shepherd the children's hearts. Again, it's important to know that students are not defined by their wrongdoing or by their mistake. They clearly have messed up in the classroom, but they're not a mess. And so rather than labeling a child by their worst mistake or what they got, quote, in trouble for in the classroom, we partner with families to nurture their growth in Christ and in character. And we invite families to embrace this idea to help shape both the habits and the hearts of their children.
Right. We're making sure to protect the students from taking on maybe wrongful identities.
Exactly.
You mentioned that they might have messed up, but they themselves are not.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
God loves them.
God doesn't make messes. And part of that time with me in my office through a discipleship moment is who we are in Christ, who God created you to be, and you're not defined by what you did in the classroom.
Can you give us some examples of how you've seen this discipleship form of disciplining play out in the lives of our students?
I think that it's interesting and really joyful to me when I see that students have come to me upset because the teacher got them in trouble.
Oh, that sounds like something one of my parents would say.
By whatever they did in class, right? Like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. My teacher got me in trouble, or my teacher's fussing at me, or my teacher put my name on the board, and there's no accountability. There's no ownership for that. And so when they come to my office, because I have the time to talk with them one-on-one, is they understand and they can verbalize the ownership of their own actions, and they can verbalize, and we talk through what needs to happen for them to correct and restore the relationship. And in simple terms, they are developing their own discipline plan, because when they come to me, we have what we call a think sheet, and there's a step in there where they create,
like my thinking chair.
Yes, exactly. And so they create an action plan, and we come up, I help and guide them, but they come up with 2 to 3 action items that are going to bring restoration and redemption, make things right again, in order for them to be allowed back in the classroom. And the first one of those always starts with apologizing and asking for forgiveness. But beyond that, these kiddos are coming up with things they can do, ways to change their behavior, ways to make things better, and that they have an action plan to put into place as soon as they go back to the classroom.
When students come to visit you, do you have any favorite phrases you like to do with the students?
I don't know so much about favorite phrases. I guess I do have some catchphrases that I use. I always start, no matter what, when they come to see me, is just have them tell me why they think they're there. So open-ended questions of I know why they're there. I see it on the teacher report, but I always give the kiddos a chance to verbalize and talk through this. Why do you think you're here? And so that really helps them to guide to their own problem solvings and figure out their own predicaments.
Open-ended questions.
Absolutely. What puts you here in this room with me? I think a catchphrase that we always talk about is what's pleasing to God. After they are able to verbalize, or I read to them what the teacher says they've done, are those things pleasing and honorable to God? And like I said, we always talk about who we are in Christ, that God created you do for really great things, and that we can do hard things, because sometimes even going back to the classroom and having to apologize is a hard thing to do. And so I want to arm them and equip them with those tools of restoration and redemption and an action plan, very concrete. They know exactly what they need to do, and to get them out of my office as quickly as possible back to their place of learning and their place of fun, because that's where they belong when they
And
come for the
fellowship with
day.
the other students.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And your phrase about, is this pleasing to God, and bringing it back, that reminds me of a prayer that I've used in my own home through different seasons of parenting, when we are having disciplinary, discussions, and just going to God together. And our little sweet prayer, it's, may all that we say and do bring honor and glory to you. We say our little prayer, and then hopefully we move on and we can return in restoration to back to the family home life. I would love to have maybe a parent version of a think sheet as a resource that parents could use at home. Maybe we could work together to put something like that together for parents.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Parents can implement a subversion of the think sheet that we use internally at school between
something similar
teachers
in their home days.
Absolutely, and I think really having the physical act of writing down their action plans, and truly they, with some guidance,
right? If they're PK,
they tell me what to write, I write it down. Okay, number 1, we're going to apologize and ask forgiveness. Number 2, we're going to do this, X, Y, Z.
And moms don't have time to stop for every situation, but definitely when we've worked up to where there is a consistent issue, maybe on home days, and we're partnering in this together, just like our collaborative model is.
Exactly.
That could be really helpful.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to mirror what we do in school.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Amie, for being on here and sharing your heart for discipleship and discipline with our students.
Yes, thank you for having me, Robin.
We know that finding a school that partners in discipling your child without compromising your family's values can feel overwhelming. Gloria Deo Academy offers a collaborative, classical Christian education where your child can authentically live out their faith and thrive academically and spiritually. Find out more at www.gda.academy. Thanks for listening.